Hello and welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Sunday to everybody. You are watching Joanne's Healing Within. I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, your certified holistic personal trainer, intuitive healer, cosmic energy reader, medical astrologer, master of numerology, the creator of the Chakra Balance Numerology Cosmic Energy Forecast deck, and the founder of Holistic Fitness, located right here in Queens, and of course, a mom and a wife. And super excited to be here with you today to share energy with you and to share a whole lot more. Now, I'm hoping you've had an opportunity to check out the last episode, which was about 2 weeks ago. And trying to remember who my guest was. Yes, I believe it was Kitty Foss. She came in and shared some information regarding astrology and all the energy that is taking place. As I think the title of that show was it's your life. It's something in that nature. I don't have that in front of me, but that's okay. No biggie. So if you did not get a chance to catch that show, know that you can go and watch it on many platforms. To name just a few: Roku, Amazon, Fire. Yeah, I'm all lost today. Twitch TV, Amazon Fire TV as well. So anyway, let's get this together. Let's ground my energy because, yeah, seems to be a lot of energy going on right now. But before we dive into that, let me just give a shout out to all of my amazing partners that help this show run every other week. So to start off with, we have, and there's a flyer with this that you can catch that information right away. You have Joe Monkman, who is our shamanic healing practitioner and wellness advocate. CJ Ives Lopez, who's our host and also publisher of the Author's Porch podcast and magazine. Kitty Foss and Amy Martin, who are the hosts of Intuition of the Soul. Deborah Beatty, Color Mystic Badass. And I love always saying her name because I can curse. Yay, yay. And then last but not least, we have Tammy Moses. She is obviously, not obviously, but she is our guest for today. She's the founder and chief encouragement officer and founder of the Hoarding Solution. If you haven't caught the title for today, the title is Reclaiming Your Self-Worth. And I do believe this is going to be a very interesting topic considering it deals with your self-worth. But before we dive into that, let's get on this energy that we do have going on right now. Kind of curious to know how you are feeling. Are you feeling a little overwhelmed or distracted? As you were able to witness me just a few minutes ago, very distracted, even though, yes, I'm very focused and grounded, but there is a lot of energy going on. We are literally right in the moments of more shifts taking place, starting with our planet of Mercury, the planet of communication, technology, traveling, scheduling. Mercury is going to be transiting out of Aries energy and moving very nicely into Taurus energy, the zodiac sign of relationships, regarding our physical and material possessions, and of course, money and other people as well. And that should be a really interesting place for Taurus to be in because it's going to help us have better conversations, schedule time regarding those relationships, and even maybe taking some time out to sit and review your finances. Where do you want to invest your money? We have to get out of this habit and words such as budgeting. We got to let go of that. It's no longer about budgeting. It's about investing. Where would you like to invest your money? What would you like to invest your money on? Who would you like to invest your money on? And I'm hoping that you invest money on yourself, whether that would look like business opportunities or your health, fitness, and wellness. Those are just two of the many places you can invest money on yourself. So with Mercury entering Taurus on April 3rd, and then within a week after that, there's going to be some other shifts taking place, but I'll speak of that at a later time. So I want to talk about Mars right now as well. Mars has entered Cancer. Cancer is associated with the fourth house energy, which is about home, family, healing, and nurturing. But let's back it up to home for a moment. When we speak of home, it's not just about your shelter, but definitely has a big part to do with that. It's also about your career, your soul's calling, not necessarily your job. And it's also about your body, your body. So with Mars being in Cancer, it gives you an opportunity to really take action on your career, your health, the relationships you have with those you do live with, and also outside relationships, and the relationship you have with your body. And these are very important aspects in your life, because if you don't take care of these things now, when will you? So that's a big question, and Mars is going to help you out. Mars will be in Cancer for roughly 4.5 weeks, so you have plenty of time to do the work, but don't wait till last minute to do that work. What I like to do now is I like to shuffle up the cards and ask the cards, what do we need to know for today based on this energy where Mars is in Cancer? What area do you really want to put a focus on over the next 4.5 weeks to really improve, release whatever it is you need to release, whether it's your habits, your belief system, maybe releasing people from your life, maybe releasing places that you go to, just to make space for all the amazing things that will be coming in once you do start to release the energies. Because again, you cannot bring in something new if you have too much clutter in your life, whether it's mental clutter or physical clutter. And that clutter could very well show up physically on your body as well. And that, I think, is a beautiful gateway into our conversation that we will have shortly. So let's see, what do we need to know for today's energy? Shuffling the cards. And please do me a favor, share, like, and comment on today's show. Let me know what resonates with you. Let me know where Mars is on your natal chart, what house, what zodiac sign it's in. I would love to know that information. All right, that card for today. Interesting card. It's in reverse. A reverse card means we need to pay attention to the message, but we really need to work on the chakra, which is the root chakra. So interesting that this card shows up, because as I said earlier, with all this energy that we are experiencing, it could cause us to get a little distracted, get a little overwhelmed, start up too many projects at the same time, and have a really challenging time finishing them. So with Mars being in Cancer, it really is about taking action. Self-love is the key word here. Totally appropriate in regards to Mars and Cancer, taking care of yourself. 7-3, we're going to wrap this right into also tapping into your soul's calling, which is that 10 energy. What you're here to achieve, what you have achieved, where's your success level, where's your fame, how do you want to be seen, how do you want to be heard. 10 is also about new beginnings, new opportunities, and knowing you have a lot of potential and choices that you can choose from. So ground your energy. Get focused, get productive, stay focused on one thing at a time. Don't try to multitask, because in reality, there is no such thing. You cannot give 100% of your energy and efforts into multiple projects at the same time. So focus on one, complete it, then start something else, which again brings us right back into when we think about Mars in Cancer. You can focus on your career, you can focus on your health, or you can focus on your relationships and relationship with money as well. So where do you want to focus on? What do you want to focus on? And use this Mercury and Taurus energy to help you do just that. Schedule what you need and let go of what you don't. All that being said, again, ground your energy. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and when I get back, I'm going to have my guests here too, and we are going to start to chat about this amazing title regarding reclaiming your self-worth, which goes perfectly aligned with self-love. I'll be right back.
Are you ready for solutions and connections? If so, I can help. Hi, I'm Tammy Moses, and I help the peripheral people resolve hoarding issues in a holistic way. I would love to connect with you and learn more about how I can help in your unique situation. Please send me an email to thehoardingsolution@gmail.com. I look forward to connecting with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kitty Foss.
And I'm Amy J.
And we're Intuition of the Soul. We are a Facebook and YouTube group that has created a sacred spiritual place to look at your spiritual practices.
And there's too much to tell you about what we do, but let me tell you, we have weekly activities, we have monthly activities, and you are not going to want to miss our spiritual practitioner series. So join us on Intuition of the Soul.
Aloha.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, and I will save the introduction for my guest in just a moment. Just want to remind you that if you're just tuning in, if you did not catch the beginning of this, feel free to go back later and watch on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or Twitch TV for that matter. But I do want to share a little bit about what I spoke about earlier because I always think the card reading is important, and I'm sure there's so many of you out there who really come to the show to watch that, and of course my guests. So our card for the day was in reverse, which means we need to pay attention to the message. We need to ground our energy. Ground our energy. With Mars being in Cancer, it's all about all the different things we want to take care of that's in the home. Home is related to our actual shelter, our relationships we have with our family members, and of course, outside family members, our careers, our health, and so much more. So self-love is the key. How can you show up giving yourself self-love? What does that look like for you? What does it entail? 773 is all about that 10 energy, which is about your soul's calling, which really wraps up that Mars in Cancer in regards to your career. So that's our card for today. Work on your root chakra. However you work on your root chakra, simplest way to do that is really stepping out into nature. Put your feet on the ground, step into the dirt. However you do it. I myself am really not a step in the dirt type of girl, so I would just rather get outside and go hug a tree. That's my way to ground. So here we have it. All that being said, in regards to self-love, and of course our title about reclaiming your self-worth, self-love, self-worth, wow, what a combination for today. As I have here Tammy Moses, she has been on the show probably more times than I can count, but there's a reason why, because she has so much to offer, so much to share with each and every one of us. So Tammy, introduce yourself, tell us what it is you do, and then we're going to dive into this amazing conversation.
Hi, Joanne. Thanks so much for having me on today. I'm Tammy Moses, and I focus on the issue of hoarding and excessive clutter, but there's a lot of self-worth issues I see within that particular situation. So I run the Hoarding Solution, and I have a community group people can join, and I also have a podcast, the Hoarding Solution podcast, and I appreciate being here because there's so much more going on underneath the stuff. And unless we address what's happening there, it's really difficult to manage the rest of those situations. So it's not something I thought I would talk about initially publicly. And I was having a conversation with someone yesterday. Oh, did you separate, or, when you got done with the military, did you start into coaching right away? And I was like, no. I've done so many other things before that, but it's all those things build into what you're building. And so all those things are part of that foundation, part of that building block. And when I was reflecting on this topic, I was thinking about how much I struggled with self-worth and feeling valuable. So I'm happy to be here and talk about it and hopefully shed some light for other people who might be struggling or really want to get a better handle on what's going on in some of the situations they're facing with themselves and their family members.
And I'm really glad that you decided to share this topic because I think it's an important topic regarding self-worth and just clutter in itself. And there's so many of us out there, and I use the word us because I fall into this category as well. My clutter situation may not be as enormous as some, but I definitely do have, and I have to be very cautious and conscious of like, okay, what's around me and how is that affecting my ability for self-love and self-worth as well. And since meeting you, it has become really like right there in front of me, recognizing like, oh shit, excuse me, that wow, this clutter and how is that affecting me today? So in regards to this topic for today of reclaiming your self-worth, what does that look like?
Well, I was thinking about how did I do that? And when did I figure out that maybe I had been thinking about this incorrectly? And basically, I got to the point where I was sitting with a therapist, and I was in my 30s by that point, and we were having a conversation about value and self-worth and the fact that you are valuable, period. That's it. There's no qualifying, there's no thing you have to do, there's no dance or $1 million bank account balance. None of that pertains to your value. And at the time, I was going through what I call a necessary divorce. And based on my upbringing, that was akin to probably the worst crime you could imagine. And so that's partially how I ended up talking with a therapist. And once I started to realize how much I didn't value myself and how much I was the Proverbs 31 wife, those things, not to say I was perfect by any means, but I was a faithful person. And I really had to examine who I was at that point. And it took me some time to sit with that and go, oh, I am valuable, period, end of story. And I started to think about more about why did I think I wasn't worthy? And I realized I kind of grew up with this idea that I was stupid, that I couldn't do things as well as other people. And I started to think about how that led me to choices where someone would say, hey, you should do this. And I'd be like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not smart. And so it's taken a lot of work to unravel that. But basically, you don't have to go around thinking that the rest of your life, even if it's something someone had tried to impress upon you, that somehow if you were not smart, you weren't valuable. If you didn't have money, you didn't have worth. And so I just can really empathize with people who are struggling with understanding that they have value. And the way I see this come up in clutter and hoarding and too much stuff around us is people don't think they're worthy of a clean space, a somewhat organized space, a space where they can come in and say, hey, I'm going to brush my teeth in the kitchen at the bathroom sink because I can find it. Hey, I'm going to
it's not cluttered up with stuff in it, because some
right,
people
or
do
in
that
it,
too.
or
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to yes, or I'm going to take a shower because I don't have a bunch of newspapers crammed in there, or I'm not using it as my closet. And this is all very common things I've seen. So I think it really does come down to, what are you telling yourself? What is your mindset around this? And how can you shift that if you're unhappy with that scenario? And how is it impacting your relationships? But if you don't think you deserve a clean space, if you don't feel like you're worthy of that, you aren't going to take actions to ensure that you do have a livable space that is where you want to be. And so really you have to look at what is making you feel like you're not worthy of this. What is making you feel like it's okay to have 2 feet of trash on your floor? Or I'm talking more extreme cases, but it's very common in some of the extreme cases to have these things. And finally, people are looking at hoarding more as the mental health situation that it is. And I still see, though, that a lot of people don't necessarily understand that what we're talking about is not just some bags of trash or some too many books, or, it's way more than that. And I think of the people that has successfully transitioned away from hoarding talk about how they had to change their mindset. They had to change how they were thinking about it. And
I also think too, for some, it's a boundary thing. Because I mean, I speak to a few people that I know in my circle that may not necessarily have cluttering issues, as they put it. And I've asked, like, okay, so why, like, for example, someone that keeps a lot of stuff in their car, it's like, well, why don't you clear all that out? Like, take the stuff out of the front seat, take the stuff out of the back seat. And the answer this person gave me was, well, if I keep all that stuff in there, then I don't have to necessarily take anybody anywhere. No one will ask me to take them to run an errand or this thing or that thing. So this person would rather keep the clutter in the car to avoid or eliminate having to say no. So I think sometimes it's a boundary as well as the self-worth process of it all.
And I agree that it's about controlling your space. Yeah. So if you can say, hey, I can't give you a ride because I don't have room, you're not saying no, you're just saying I don't have room. And it's also a protective barrier. Yes. And people are less likely to try to approach you possibly about anything, basically.
Exactly.
But the flip side of that is, say you work somewhere and every day someone sees that car that you're driving full of stuff, and maybe you're going for a promotion or an interview or something, and other people will look at that and say, if that person can't keep their car straight, how are they going to keep a project straight? How are they going to do this other more difficult task in their job? And for some people, they are very skilled in their professions and in their jobs and whatever, and they may not have that issue at work, but yes, their car, their home might be a complete disaster. And sometimes people don't even know someone's got a problem until there's a medical crisis or something like that. So people do learn to present very well in some cases, and their identity is very much tied to their job, their contributions to the world. And in some cases, people say they retire and they didn't have that big of an issue, but now hoarding becomes kind of their coping mechanism for having retired or changed relationships, that type of thing. So then of course there is commonly depression, anxiety related to this, but also there's the executive functioning that happens where you feel like you are part of your stuff and you're not separate from it. And so if someone moves your pile,
exactly. Oh yeah, you can definitely not touch someone else's stuff. And with that being said, what I'd like for you to do, Tammy, if you can, which I know you will, share your website information. So if anyone wishes to connect with you, that they can. I know you have all your information on your website. So what is that website information?
So my website is thehoardingsolution.com, and it does have links to the group podcast and some different blog posts and things. So I'm happy to have people check it out. And I have a quarterly newsletter that I'm going to get moving again, so people can subscribe to that as well.
Excellent. So with that said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to be sharing more about how to reclaim your self-worth. So we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Joe Monkman, and I am a personal development trainer. And that means that I help people step into their leadership roles, take their place as a visionary, really understand their own mastery in the world so that they can really find their place at the buffet of life. And if you want to know more, you can find me on my Facebook page at Joe Monkman and joemonkman@gmail.com.
Hi, I'm CJ. The Author's Porch is a community where you find good books and good people. We collaborate with services that deliver quality to authors and publish a magazine for authors by authors. Come by, let us feature you or review your book. Coffee is always on, and no matter what time you arrive or where you come from, the porch light is always on.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. If you are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, and I have here my amazing guest, Tammy Moses. We are speaking about reclaiming your self-worth. And what does that all look like? So if you are just tuning in, please go back later and watch from the very beginning. And you can do that by watching on YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch TV, and many other platforms as well. So Tammy and I were chatting. She was sharing some amazing information about how when you specifically have, the word that just came up for me was the word junk. Sorry for those people. Not the best word, but if you have a lot of stuff that's in your car, because that's what we left off on, that you're using to not have to necessarily say no to somebody who may need a drive here or there, how that actually represents you at your place of work when people actually do see your car. And when Tammy mentioned that, I didn't even think of how that would reflect, how that would be a reflection on a person's career as well. So that is quite interesting. You gave me something to think about, Tammy.
Well, and it's also a safety factor because I see these vehicles and sometimes they're newer and they are environmentally conscious vehicles, shall we say, but then they're packed to the gills. And I'm like, the disconnect for me is like, I don't understand the disconnect between that environmental consciousness, and yet it's been shown that the more you have in your vehicle, the more your gas mileage goes down. So like it's incongruent when you look at some of these things, but it's also a safety factor. It's also a sign that you're struggling. When I see that, I think this person is struggling with something. And generally, people have experienced some sort of trauma, grief, loss, something that pertains to why they're hoarding, why they feel they need to be protected. And some people grew up, like if you grew up in this situation, I did, but I would say it wasn't as severe at that time, and it's not as bad as some of the things I see people have survived, but there's still this element of you can't have people over and you're not as valuable as the stuff, because if you move it, you'll get hollered at. If you don't move it, someone will say, well, why aren't you cleaning it up? Because I'm a kid and I live here and I see what happens. I'm trying to avoid drama. I'm trying to keep the peace. And so you learn to kind of just navigate around that. But the message you're also getting is, I'm not as important as this pile. The holiday doesn't matter because I can't do anything to prepare for it. And so it's a messaging you're receiving. And the same goes for a spouse. Or even if you have a roommate that has this issue, you're getting the messaging that your needs aren't as important. And so that really translates to how you connect to people outside of the home and how you try to maintain relationships and or are attracted to similar dysfunction based on what you know and what's familiar. So there is a lot to be said for figuring out who you are as a human apart from hoarding, clutter, a mess. A lot of times people don't escape it until college age, and then it's very difficult to go live your life and then come back and go, oh, this is way worse than I thought, or I can't bring people here, or whatever. So, and just when I think about people that actually have the stuff, have the clutter, that they're very attached to it, but I also see where it's almost like a second skin, and that they identify as trash, as horrible as that sounds. They
Yes.
identify as this negative being, and people can reinforce that, unfortunately, without meaning to. But it is very much necessary to figure out that you are a separate, worthy, valuable human being aside from this issue that is occurring.
And it's like you said too earlier, a few minutes ago, in regards to most people don't pull themselves out of this until they hit college. But on the flip side of that, just from personal experiences, some people actually fall into the hoarding as they get older, based on, as you mentioned earlier, about grief. When you lose something, whether it's a job or a loved one, that sometimes you fall into that. You want to hold on to everything that's related to either that person or the job that you had. Like, I know for me, when I was in this process just about 6 months ago, cleaning out my brick and mortar, and what is it I'm getting rid of, and what is it about, what's valuable enough to want to hold on to, and am I holding on to it because I'm going to be using it again, or am I holding on to it because it's got some sort of sentimental value, and then at one point or another, maybe I will eventually use it sometime, somewhere, whether it's now or months or years later. So I think that plays a big role in it as well, where one really needs to evaluate, like, okay, why is this occurring? Is it a factor of, yes, we want to protect ourselves, or is it a factor that we just feel like we have to hold on to everything because everything's so valuable, in whatever sense of the word valuable means?
And a lot of times the issue is value, the same value is placed on a pen as an old paper towel, and the wedding dress and the photo album. And so there is not a differentiation between what actually is valuable and sentimental versus why would you keep that. And so that I see that struggle there. But also I'm thinking of like a dress. Okay, a lot of, well, I would say women, but I know men do this too. You keep certain articles of clothing because there's a good memory attached to that. And I had a dress like that from way back when I went to a function in the military, and I carried that around. And then finally I was like, the odds of me ever wearing that again, for numerous reasons,
Exactly.
size, fashion, like, it was a dark dress with a white collar, like that started to discolor, and I'm like, why is this in my closet? And so
Exactly.
finally, I just had to let it go. And I've had other clothes like that too, but I was attached to the memory. I was attached to that time in my life. And by letting that go, it's like saying, oh, I'm getting older, I'm getting chunkier, I'm not going to ever be that person again. And I've had clients who, like, their whole work life was in their closet, their clothing, but they had health issues. They were never going to return to that job. And
Exactly.
there was no need for them to hold on to it. Yet you're giving up a part of who you identify as when you go through that.
Exactly.
So
it's the same concept when we think of, whether it's clothing, or, as you mentioned, a dress. It's like when we take things, let's say, from the old job, and we're collecting things back, the value we put on whatever that is, but yet we either stick it on, put it on the floor, we throw it into the corner. So in the reality of it's so valuable to us that we don't want to get rid of it, but how valuable is it really if we're just shoving it on the floor someplace and sticking it in a corner and throwing things over and over and over it? So when we really think about the value behind why we keep it, how valuable and worthy is it really to that individual if they're just going to shove it on the floor? There's no value really, and the energy they put into that, is it really of value, or is it just to the point on it's just easier to hold on to something rather than taking the time out to actually ask themselves, well, do I really need this? Am I ever really going to use it again? Especially if it's related to work and you're not going to go back to that particular job again. So that like assessment that one can have for themselves.
And if you have certain things that are meaningful, if everything has meaning, then nothing has meaning, right? So you have to look at what is meaningful to you, as well as, are you going to use it or not? But also, how are you taking care of it? If your car is packed to the gills with stuff, do you know if those fries are still underneath all that? It could attract pests. Like, is something rusting out on the floorboard and you can't tell because you can't see it? Like, how is it you're maintaining these things that are supposedly valuable to you? And in a home, in a structure, there's only so much weight a building can bear. So it's another piece of how are you maintaining where you live? And if it's that important to you, what are you doing to prove it?
Exactly. That's a really great question to sort of put our audience on hold on. And again, so they can reach you, what is that website address?
thehoardingsolution.com.
Awesome. So anyone who does want to reach out to Tammy to get more insight or just to work with her, because when we do have a hoarding issue, whatever we want to qualify it as, sometimes we do need a little support. And I know that Tammy does do virtual assessments as well. So it's not that she needs to be right there with you. You could take her on a little tour of your home or your workspace or your car for that matter. And she can help you get to the bottom, literally to the bottom. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, Tammy's going to share a tip or two. And if she's open, I'm going to share a reading with her. So we'll be right back.
Are you ready for solutions and connections? If so, I can help. Hi, I'm Tammy Moses, and I help the peripheral people resolve hoarding issues in a holistic way. I would love to connect with you and learn more about how I can help in your unique situation. Please send me an email to thehoardingsolution@gmail.com. I look forward to connecting with you.
Hey, this is Joe Monkman, and I am a personal development trainer. And that means that I help people step into their leadership roles, take their place as a visionary, really understand their own mastery in the world so that they can really find their place at the buffet of life. And if you want to know more, you can find me on my Facebook page at Joe Monkman and joemonkman@gmail.com.
Hello, everybody. My name is Damaris Samolinsky, and I am an archetypal astrologer. I am also a Reiki master teacher. I am also a metaphysical teacher. I also do psychic readings and energy work. I am a specialist in archetypal astrology. What is that necessarily? Archetypal astrology is when I bring the houses, I bring the signs and the planets to life to show you the different roles we play and the different characters we play that shape our life, that shape our fate or destiny. The more awareness you have, the better role you can play for yourself, the better you become a master of the self. If you want to know any more about what I do in my specialty, please find me at DamarisSamolinsky.com. Thank you. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I have my amazing guest, Tammy Mose, here. We are chatting about reclaiming your self-worth and what that looks like regarding clutter, hoarding, whatever we might want to call it. The big topic's been about the car, and we do a lot of chatting behind the scenes, as we were just doing, and you would have almost caught us if we didn't quiet down quickly enough. So on this part of the game, what we do here is I have the guests share a tip that you can literally walk away with immediately and utilize it into action. So Tammy, what is that tip you would like to share with our audience?
Well, the tip that has helped me and helped others that I've worked with and kind of started to look at your mindset is affirmations. And I know not everyone appreciates those, but I think you have to start somewhere, and it's an easy place to begin. And so earlier I was talking about the fact that I thought I was stupid. I thought that for many, many years. And then I started to realize if I switch that to I am smart, I don't believe that. It's too much of a leap. So I started with things like, and you just take whatever that negative thing is that you're thinking and you put that into something in a more positive light. So if I was walking around thinking I am stupid, I could switch that to I am wise. And I have taken pen to paper and written the negative thing and written the positive thing. And it's not magic necessarily, but shift how you are thinking about yourself and your situation. And if you start focusing on what you want to get, what you want to achieve, that's far better than focusing on the negative, because your brain is going to just go wherever you tell it to, basically. And if you focus on that positive outcome, what your goal is, like, I am a college graduate, I'm a high school graduate, I have a successful career, whatever thing it is that you are trying to be more positive about, or at least have a better perspective on, that's one thing you can do. And I totally am a pen to paper person, and I know not everyone does that, but you can also find different videos that talk about this. You can I have a group where some of these things I have uploaded there, the resources, and you can really start to shift what you're thinking. But also you can breathe into your kids and the people around you. If they're struggling, you can start changing what you say to them and be an encouragement. I saw a t-shirt. I guess she would technically be we'll call her my great niece. And it said, dream, believe, achieve. And she's very young, but I was so happy to see that positive statement going out there, because there's enough negativity, there's enough bullying and put downs and all those things that you want to be the light. You want to shine a positive sense onto people. You want to be that encouragement. And I honestly can say there's some days when I'm not feeling it. But if I can encourage someone else in some way, that I think kind of brings that collective energy up a bit. And it could be just a very small thing, but it also can be it's a ripple, right? One little stone can make a huge ripple.
Yes, and I love that. And I think that tip is so perfectly aligned with Mars in Cancer energy in regards to redirecting your thought. So if you are thinking something negatively, as Tammy says, just transforming into something more positive and taking the action to do just that. So I love that. Thank you for that tip. And on that note, Tammy, would you be open to some guidance today?
Yes, I would say I need it.
Okay, awesome. So what I like to do today is something a little different. What I like to do is for you just to say your first name out loud 3 times so I can activate the energy for you and I.
Tammy, Tammy, Tammy.
Great. And being that Mars is in Cancer, which is all about our home, which is related to our shelter, our families, our career, and also our health, our bodies. What area of the 3 would you like to focus on for this reading?
Can you say my 3 options again?
Yes, your career, your family at home, or your health.
I would say family.
All right, so let's see what insight shows up for Tammy for her family. And the insight, interesting enough, even though she wants to say family, the universe has something else in mind for her. It's called career change. Career change. So now this can very well be connected to family as well, but career change, and the chakra here is associated with your third eye. So perhaps there's something relating to your career that's changing that's actually going to be in connection to your family, in reference to how you actually connect with your family as well. That 7 energy is the contracts that you do have with family members, with family that we may not be blood related to, but family is family, whatever the case is. So what contracts can you transform? How can you see, in reference to exactly what you're saying based on your tip, how can you see whatever it is that you're seeing with your family in a more positive way? And that too can definitely lead into some changes in your career. Now, when we hear the word career change, doesn't always mean that the actual career is going to change, but how you do things in your career may change. And that's really the message that I have for you, is that there's some changes that's coming in. And I almost feel like the last time you were here, you got a message similar, that there's some changes that's coming in regarding your career that's going to have a huge impact on your family situation based on all your different contracts. How's that land with you?
I think that's very accurate based on conversations I've had in the last couple months and connections, and there is definitely a shift in how I'm approaching things. And when you change one thing, it does impact other things as well. So
Definitely. So just see, using your third eye going forward, see it exactly how you would like it to be for you. Just as you said with your tip, shifting the negative into something more positive, and see whatever it is that you want to see be, that it actually will be. So thank you for being open to that insight. And one last time, let our viewers know how to reach you through your website address.
We are at thehoardingsolution.com.
Awesome. Thank you again, Tammy, for sharing your wisdom on reclaiming your self-worth. I know I got a lot out of this show today, and I'm hoping our audience did too. Remember, please share this out, leave your comments, and if you do wish to reach out to Tammy, please go to her website to do just that. And she'll be back again very soon talking about some more stuff going forward. But for now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I will be back with the conclusion of today's show. Again, Tammy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Hello and welcome. I'm Reverend Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, your certified holistic personal trainer, intuitive healer, cosmic energy reader, medical astrologer, master of numerology, the creator of the Chakra Balance Numerology Cosmic Energy Forecast Deck, and the founder of Holistic Fitness located in Queens. I work with women, men by referral, over 40, release weight, physically, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically, relating to their childhood and past life traumas associated with their Chiron womb. When clients work with me, they fall in love with the body that they are in and gain the confidence to be seen and heard and ready to walk away from their job and fully step into their soul's contract. To learn more about your Chiron moon and your soul's contract, redeem your complimentary 15-minute self-growth discovery session today by emailing healingwithin76@gmail.com. I do look forward to helping you blend the physical and mystical world together and working with the mystical medicine tools to help you heal from within. Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, and my amazing guest, Tammy Moss, who's here. She and I were chatting about Reclaim Your Self-Worth. So if you are just tuning in right now, you're definitely going to have to come back and watch from the very beginning because you missed a great episode. But no worries, you can watch on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch TV, and also, of course, on YouTube and Twitter. And you can always go back to Facebook too. But we're at the very end and just want to give a shout out to some of my amazing partners that do have amazing things going on in their lives that they share with each and every one of you, should you be interested. And there's a flyer for each of these. So here we go. We have the Color Mystic Badass, Intuition of the Soul, the Author Sports Podcast and Magazine. Their next issue comes out April 4th, so definitely want to get that issue. Spirit Messages and Energy Insight. Remember, there's a new time, which is 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern, new time. Then, of course, there is Miracles and Mystical Medicine Psychic Club that will be meeting the second Wednesday, which is April 12th. You definitely want to sign up for that. I have an amazing featured speaker coming in and sharing his journey with you. And for all of you who are watching, feel free to take advantage of a 15-minute complimentary self-growth discovery session to discover wherever you are right now. After all, Mars is in Cancer, and something's being highlighted for you right now. Then last but not least, come join me the first Wednesday of April, Joanne's Cosmic Energy Radio Show. I will be sharing the forecast for the month, and you definitely don't want to miss that. Again, first Wednesday of the month at 3:33 p.m. Eastern Time. Till next time, which will be April 16th, where I have another amazing guest that's coming in. There is a flyer with her name, Damaris. We're going to skip on her last name because I'm sure I will mess it up because I don't have it in front of me. And she is an astrologer, and she's going to be sharing some insight with you as well based on astrology and all that's going on. That's taking place on April 16th, the next time we meet. Till then, enjoy. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember to share, like, and comment on today's show. Share it out, share it out, share it out. Until next time, bye-bye for now.